Part 103. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1021. Understand the key issues here. Xiao Xian also decided to challenge the Jin Li and Jin Qing of the Jinyu dynasty before challenging the kendo weapon spirits of the Little Golden God realm. See how capable they are. Actually, when he saw Jin Li Jin Qing for the first time, Xiao Xian didn't feel how strong they were. But in them, he noticed a special weapon, Gangfeng, which affected the breath in their bodies with every move. Obviously, they are all people who have been involved in the weapons manufacturing industry for many years. For this, Xiao Xian is really curious. He had heard that if a person is immersed in the same environment for a long time, some subtle changes will occur in the human body. Just like a practitioner of the way of water. After practicing in a deep pool for a long time, the water attribute in the body will become more and more refined, and the perception of water will become stronger. But generally, only natural cultivators will use this cultivation method. But the blacksmiths of the Jinyu dynasty. It really surprised him that he could accumulate such weapons in his body. He was a little curious. I kind of want to know, what methods did these people from the Jinyu dynasty use to seal the spirit of weapons within their bodies? If anything, Xiao Xian can also learn from them and seal the sword in his body. Wouldn't the strength be greatly enhanced? The so-called learning by choosing the best. Xiao Xian knew that if he wanted to improve his strength, he had to learn various techniques and Taoism. Sometimes, not only should we learn the advantages of those who are stronger than ourselves, but we should also learn the advantages of those who are weaker than ourselves. On that note, he really has some interest in this Jinyu dynasty. How much do you know about the Jinyu dynasty? Xiao Xian knew that Lang Tu was a mercenary back then. He must have met many people and knew a lot of things. Maybe he could also have some intelligence and news about the Jinyu dynasty. This dynasty is very mysterious. Legend has it that the founder of the Golden Realm dynasty was a blacksmith who practiced the art of iron. He relied on his random forging and hammering skills to travel across the eastern wilderness continent. He also combined powerful men from several regions to create the Golden Realm dynasty. In the Jinyu dynasty, the vast majority of practitioners practice the Iron Way. It can be said that on the giant continent of Eastern Baron, the Jinyu dynasty is the place with the most profound understanding of the Iron Way, and it is also the place where the most powerful weapons are forged. It is precisely because of this that the Jinyu dynasty has continuously improved its strength over the years. It seems that it has become a major force in the eastern wasteland. So strong. Xiao Xian frowned slightly. He could imagine that the Jinyu dynasty had connections with so many chambers of commerce such as the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce and the Qingxi Chamber of Commerce, so it naturally had some strength. But he really didn't expect it. How could this Jinyu dynasty be so powerful? How could he still be involved with cultivators from several regions under such circumstances? In this case, it may not be that simple to target the Jinyu dynasty in the secret realm today. At least, he has to deal with it carefully. This is also something I'm worried about. The iron paths practiced by the Jinyu dynasty are basically interconnected. Therefore, if the disciples cooperate, their combat effectiveness will be greatly improved. If several 5-star disciples of the Blue God realm join forces, they might also be able to fight against the strong men of the Little Golden God realm. Lang Tu said proactively. Hear this. Xiao Xian understood a little bit. No wonder, in the secret realm, a few 5 stars of the Blue God realm actually have the courage to challenge the Little Golden God realm. It turns out that the reason is here. In this regard, Xiao Xian didn't say anything more. He just thought about it for a moment and finally decided to play it safe first. Without determining the true strength of the Jinyu dynasty, it would be better for him not to take the initiative. As for another aspect, although Jin Li and Jin Qing have not shown their strength yet, they can become the leaders of the Jinyu dynasty. This is enough to prove the strength of these two people. Yes. Regarding Xiao Xian's suggestion, Lang Tu naturally nodded one after another. For him, on the one hand, Xiao Xian is the signer of his soul contract, and he should follow him without hesitation. On the other hand, for so long, there has never been any problem with the advice Xiao Xian gave him, and he should also obey as you should. The two of them moved forward. With Xiao Xian's powerful soul power, the weapon spirits along the way will basically be discovered in advance. For these Kangshen realm weapon spirits, no need for him to say more. Lang Tu took the initiative and sealed all these weapon spirits into the sword. Because they killed Zhang Feng, they had completely fallen out with the Jinyu dynasty. Under such circumstances. Moreover, while Xiao Xian was fighting these weapon spirits, he could also feel that his understanding of weapons was slowly improving. It's as if people are still on the battlefield. The weapon spirits they seal are basically their own. He could find that the weapons and combat skills contained in these weapon spirits were basically of a high grade. He also gradually approached the depths of the Golden Realm's secret realm. The more he fights against these weapon spirits, the more proficient he becomes in controlling the weapons. In the process of fighting these weapon spirits, with the cooperation of the two of them, as long as they encounter a Kangshen realm weapon spirit, they will basically take it into their pocket. Xiao Xian has no reason not to seal more. Xiao Xian can feel it. This actually made Xiao Xian discover a business opportunity. In the future, he can extract these weapons and combat skills at any time, practice them or even copy them. Xiao Xian and Lang Tu conquered more than 20 Kangshen realm weapon spirit queens. Even the Tiankong swordsmanship feels a little more familiar. If these weapons and combat skills are taken out, they can be sold at a good price. It turns out that these weapon spirits actually use a complete weapon combat technique during their battles. Xiao Xian also discovered a more important thing. It is enough to prove how precious this weapon spirit is. Even for the Jinyu dynasty, these weapon spirits are extremely precious, under such circumstances. Here, he felt that the original killing aura and weapon aura became stronger and stronger. After the previous battle, and after conquering this weapon spirit owner, at least they are all around the Xian level. The energy of the sword appears at any time. At the same time, ahead is the depth of the secret realm that Zhang Feng said. There is such a precious thing. This also surprised him. After all, along the way, if he hadn't said anything nonsense, there should be that one, a swordsman spirit in the little golden god realm. Simply, they stopped holding back. Being able to guard such a treasure house, no wonder the Jinyu dynasty could become such a powerful empire. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1022. Be careful. The perception of a strong person in the little golden god realm is extremely sensitive. If we enter this area, we will be noticed by him. Xiao Xian looked serious. Besides, there is still the smell of blood. He can feel it. In the depths of the secret realm, there is not only the strong wind left by those swords, but also the bloody aura left behind after the battle. Obviously, there was a battle here not long ago. I just don't know where this battle took place. Yes, Master, if necessary, I can find the source of these bloody smells. Lang Tu said suddenly. After saying this, Xiao Xian was stunned for a moment, and then he realized what he was saying. Yes. Lang Tu beside him is a practitioner of the blood path. With him here, isn't finding the bloody scent as simple as finding the way home? Think of this. Xiao Xian was naturally surprised and said, this is naturally the best. If you can find the source of the bloody aura, you will also find the battlefield where you fought before, and maybe you will also find traces of the little golden god realm weapon spirit. Good. Look for it right here. Langtu didn't neglect either. As the blood on his body slowly circulated, streaks of bloody aura were released from his body and began to fly in a certain direction. It's like a red line guiding them. Seeing this magical scene, Xiao Xian also nodded secretly. Once, he had seen the blood cultivators of Langtu. The blood cultivators at that time were still very dirty and smelly. Although the combat effectiveness is not weak. However, if Langtu practiced such a blood method for a long time, it would also cause great damage to his own body. Today, Xiao Xian noticed that Langtu's blood became much purer than before. Under the leadership of blood, he and Langtu also successfully found the depths of the secret realm, and sure enough, they found stains of blood and traces of battle on the ground. Through these blood stains, he could easily tell that the swordsman spirit of the little golden god realm should have killed many explorers. Strangeness. Why didn't you see that little golden god realm weapon spirit? Xiao Xian looked around. I searched again with my soul power, but found no trace of the sword spirit. This actually made him a little puzzled. According to normal principles, the kendo weapon spirit should have a strong weapon pressure. Such strong strength should be easily discovered here. But neither Xiao Xian nor Langtu noticed it. Isn't this a bit strange? When things go wrong, there must be monsters. At the same time, Xiao Xian did not gain nothing. Soon he felt that there was some smell of pure yang sword technique on the sword marks on the ground. Only then did Xiao Xian understand. There is a high probability that Zhang Feng is not lying. This kendo weapon spirit of the little golden god realm is very likely to be the remnant of kendo left by Gong Sunhea. For such a situation, he is even more dignified. Gong Sunhea was once the most famous swordsman on the eastern wilderness continent. The artifacts left behind by such characters. The art of swordsmanship is naturally extremely mysterious. It's no wonder that an empire as powerful as the Jinyu dynasty had to prepare so many things before it dared to challenge this little golden god realm weapon spirit. At this point, Xiao Xian had to deal with it more carefully. Master, I heard that Gong Sunhea's swordsmanship is extremely strong, and his pure yang sword technique is the best in the continent at that time. If we encounter him, can we defeat him? Langtu was a little worried. You don't have to call me master anymore. Just call me young master. Xiao Xian shook his head. He is a modern man. Although he has traveled across several continents for many years, he is still not used to things like master and servant. Hearing this, Langtu was stunned and continued, Sir, looking at the current situation, I'm afraid those explorers have probably encountered something unexpected. If we continue to search, we will probably encounter that weapon spirit. Yes. If you don't enter the tiger's den, you won't get the tiger's cubs. Now that I have decided to come to the Golden Realm, there is no reason to be afraid. Xiao Xian raised his head. Looking at the iron-gray weapon aura in the sky of the secret realm, he also fell into deep thought. Actually, to be honest, he doesn't necessarily have much confidence in defeating the sword spirit of the little golden god realm. But since I got Gong Sunhea's pure yang sword art, for such a long time, he has also felt that the Chun Yang sword art has really helped him a lot. Today, since I have the opportunity to enter the secret realm of Jinyu, there was no reason for him to give up voluntarily. Good. Since you have made your decision, young master, I will follow you to the death. Seeing Xiao Xian's face determined, Langtu also understood. I was afraid that he would not be able to change Xiao Xian's inner thoughts today, so he just nodded seriously. See the performance of Langtu. Xiao Xian was quite satisfied. He knew that the place in the secret realm of the Golden Realm was filled with a lot of bloody energy, and Langtu could actually get a lot of benefits. Follow the direction of the blood. I believe we will find the sword spirit soon. Xiao Xian's face was serious. As long as we find those weapon spirits, in the end, we will find a way to suppress them. Say it. Lang Tu's face was still a little serious. In fact, he also knew that Xiao Xian was able to come to the depths of the secret realm to suppress the sword spirit. However, saying this is one thing, but doing it is another thing. Ordinary Kangshen realm cultivators. It is almost impossible to defeat a cultivator of the little golden god realm. But this time, although this kendo weapon spirit of the little golden god realm can use weapons and combat skills, his combat effectiveness is still not comparable to that of a real strong man of the little golden god realm. Just now, Xiao Xian is just a second-star cultivator in the blue god realm. Even if he is a 5-star Kangshen realm, it is still a bit difficult for the two of them to cooperate with this swordsmanship spirit. Don't worry. I once practiced Gong Sun Hei's swordsmanship, and I have some understanding of his Chunyang sword technique. Xiao Xian saw Lang Tu's inner doubts. Actually, for Gong Sun Hei, a sword cultivator, he was still very grateful in his heart, and he understood that Chunyang sword Ju was of great help to him. If it weren't for the Chunyang sword Ju nearby, I'm afraid, he himself doesn't know how many times he has died. Another point is that Gong Sun Hei's daughter Gong Sun Xiaoxiao was kidnapped by people from outside the territory. This matter has always been on his mind. Although with his current strength, it is undoubtedly wishful thinking to go to places outside the territory, but he still hopes to meet Gong Sun Hei once. Speak these things out. Perhaps, his heart can be more stable. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1023. Follow the guidance of the blood. Xiao Xian and Lang Tu continued to move towards the depths of the secret realm. Soon, they noticed that there were still some traces of fighting in the secret realm. As they get deeper and deeper into the secret realm, on the ground, there were more and more shocking stumps and broken arms, and the scarlet blood was also very dazzling. At last, they also came to a place where the sword marks were the most intense. Obviously, this should be the place where the disciples of the Jinyu dynasty besieged the sword spirit. But the strange thing is, there are no corpses of Jinyu dynasty disciples on the ground. There is also no trace of the sword spirit. This really made Xiao Xian a little puzzled. Logically speaking, the Jinyu dynasty was so well prepared that it took the initiative to look for the sword spirit. It is indeed possible to lose. But the defeat will definitely not be too miserable. Is it possible that a sword weapon spirit of the little golden god realm can really kill all the disciples of the Golden Jade dynasty? Not even a body left behind? This is almost impossible. On that note, perhaps what happened here before was really not that simple. Xiao Xian frowned and said directly, it seems that this is where they fought. Judging from these traces, the sword spirit must not have been subdued. Say it. The face of Lang Tu next to him also became a little more solemn. He has seen some of the world, and he also knows how powerful the power of the little golden god realm is. If there is really a head-on battle, the disciples of the Jinyu dynasty would probably be suppressed if they did not have strong trump cards. This is not good news for Xiao Xian and Lang Tu. After all, even if the two of them were put together, they might not be able to deal with the sword spirit. It would be better if they could fight and both sides would lose. In this way, they will still have the opportunity to make a profit. At this point, Xiao Xian and Lang Tu both knew it well. However, this kind of thing still depends a bit on luck. If the disciples of the Jinyu dynasty really don't live up to expectations and don't even bring any trouble to the swordsmanship spirit, then it only depends on Xiao Xian's ability. At the moment, Lang Tu was also very preoccupied, and continued walking towards the depths of the secret realm, following the guidance of the blood trail. The deeper you go, the more they feel. There seemed to be something unusual deep in the secret realm of the Golden Realm, and the aura of powerful killing weapons enveloped the surroundings. Every step I take. It was as if they were in the center of the battlefield, as if they would be joined by swords and axes in the next second. Under the chilling atmosphere, Xiao Xian and Lang Tu instantly felt a lot more nervous. If such a sword aura were placed on an ordinary person, they would probably feel tremendous pressure. However, Xiao Xian is not an ordinary person. The greater the pressure, the greater the motivation. No one needs to say more. He followed the direction pointed by the wolf and took the lead, walking in front. This is not because he is reckless, but in terms of soul power alone, he is much stronger than Lang Tu. Therefore, dangers can be detected earlier during combat. On that note, within the 5 stars of the Blue God realm, he was already the first to be invincible. Lang Tu, on the other hand, also did not dare to neglect. After all, Xiao Xian had his soul contract with him. If Xiao Xian was in danger, it would be equivalent to him being in danger. Soon, the two discovered the situation deep in the secret realm. There's something really different here. The deeper he went, Xiao Xian suddenly had a strange feeling about the powers deep in the secret realm. Deep in the secret realm. There seems to be a familiar feeling in the power of these weapons. Just like he had realized the same thing somewhere. This really surprised him. You must know that for such a long time, he has always felt that his power was suppressed in the secret realm. Even the power of the soul that he was proud of could not be fully exerted. So much so before. Faced with Jin Li and Jin Qing's joint plan, he did not take action directly. This was not his temper at all. It's not his style. But now, it seems a little different. Deep in the secret realm, he can actually exert all his strength. This is definitely not a small thing. With this, he suddenly became more confident. The sword spirit of the little golden god realm did not seem to be invincible. As long as there are enough opportunities. Xiao Xian believed that he was still capable of fighting. What's more important is that now, Xiao Xian is almost certain that the kendo weapon spirit of the little golden god realm must be Gongsun Heya. This made him feel a little uncomfortable. Talk about it? Since then, he accidentally broke into Gongsun Heya's tomb and obtained the latter's sword inheritance. The Chunyang sword art indeed helped him a lot. There were some critical moments, and if it weren't for the Chunyang sword art, he might really have to use the River of Time. Now, though, he wasn't sure. But no matter what, this swordsmanship spirit of the little golden god realm is really Gongsun Heya's last remnant in this world. If the weapon spirit is completely conquered, his heavenly wolf sword can be advanced, but Gongsun Heya, a swordsman, may really disappear in the eastern wilderness continent. Think of this. Xiao Xian felt an inexplicable sadness in his heart. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Keng. Keng. Just when Xiao Xian was sighing secretly, from behind the hillside ahead, there was suddenly a sound of gold and iron clashing. Apparently, there was a fight. He and Lang Tu reacted quickly, and hurriedly hid behind the hillside together, looking carefully in the direction of the sound. 3 people stood in the battlefield. To be precise, it was 2 people and 1 weapon spirit. These 2 people, a man and a woman, were Jin Li and Jin Qing from the Jinyu dynasty. Their faces were ashen. And around them, lying in a circle of corpses of explorers from the Golden Realm dynasty were lying in random directions. Seeing that these explorers, whose strength was around 5 stars in the Blue God realm, were all killed with 1 sword without any resistance. Jin King Jin Li was also trembling with distress. Although the Jinyu dynasty is not weak, losing so many Blue God realm 5 stars at once has a great impact. But the good thing is, through these disciples, there is also the consumption of other seekers. More than half of the sword spirit's energy has been consumed, and even one of its arms has been severed. Now, the strength of the sword spirit is not as strong as before. With the cooperation of Jin Li and Jin Cheng, it is almost a sure thing to win the sword weapon spirit. By then, a real heaven-level magic weapon may be born in the Jinyu dynasty. This way, the Jinyu dynasty will rely on this incident to truly become the top sect in the Eastern Wilds continent. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1024. This damn weapon spirit. The fighting power is so strong, so many of our disciples were actually killed by her. Jin Li's face turned pale. In his hand, he also held a silver orb. The silver orb was covered with a protective shield, emitting silver light. Under these lights, the bursts of sword energy on the sword spirit were actually blocked. It is precisely with these powers that Jin Li and Jin Qing can remain unharmed under the fierce sword wind. See this scene. Xiao Xian and Lang Tu were also interested. It was obvious that the Jinyu dynasty had made a lot of preparations to deal with the sword spirit. But he was really curious and wanted to see if these guys had the ability to conquer weapon spirits. For a while, the eyes of Xiao Xian and Lang Tu were focused on the weapon spirit. Judging from the kendo aura on the kendo weapon spirit, this guy is indeed very powerful. It can be said, any sword energy released from this guy could cause fatal damage to Jin Qing and Jin Li. On that note, it is also enough to prove that it is not that simple to fight against a weapon spirit at the level of the little golden god. Do you think Jin Li and Jin Qing can defeat the sword spirit? Xiao Xian asked casually. It should be fine. Judging from the breath of this sword weapon spirit seems to be a bit disordered. It should be that the previous explorer has consumed a lot of his spiritual power. Lang Tu has rich experience. After careful observation, he could see that there was something wrong with the sword spirit. After such a situation, this kendo weapon spirit seems a bit difficult to win. This made Xiao Xian a little more dignified. Actually, he still hopes that the sword spirit can win this battle. Anyway, now, he has already broken up with the Jinyu dynasty. If the kendo weapon spirit can take action, kill Jin Li and Jin Qing. This is also a good thing for Xiao Xian. Whoosh! While talking, the kendo weapon spirit suddenly flew up, and with the sword swung, the aura of weapons around him instantly gathered towards him. The sword comes out like a dragon. The silver light suddenly appeared and struck directly at the spiritual treasure in Jin Li's hand. This scene also surprised Xiao Xian next to him. Didn't Jin Qing also say before that this weapon spirit has no intelligence? Why do you still know how to take the initiative to attack Ling Bao now? How is this going? Is it possible that after reaching the level of the little golden god, will these weapon spirits also evolve? Not good. Gather up a formation to meet the enemy. Jin Qing didn't dare to neglect. She could also see that the sword spirit was almost at the end of its strength. In order not to be subdued, the weapon spirit's attacks would become more and more fierce. Jin Qing and Jin Li worked together in perfect harmony. An iron-gray steel aura flowed from both of them at the same time. When the two auras came together, they also condensed into a steel shield. Keng. Under the collision of steel shield and silver sword light, both sides also took a few steps back at the same time. At the same time, the huge repulsive force also caused Jin Li, Jin Qing, and others to be directly knocked away for more than 10 meters. It hit the ground hard. This power actually instantly created two large craters on the hard floor of the secret realm. See this scene. Xiao Xian was also secretly speechless. He knew that this was still the case where the power of the sword spirit was mostly offset by the spirit treasure. If there is no spiritual treasure, wouldn't Jin Li and Jin Qing die suddenly on the spot? For a moment, Xiaoxian and Lang Tu also felt a chill on their backs and an uneasy feeling. To know. The current kendo weapon spirits are almost exhausted, but they still have such strong fighting power. How could this not surprise them? Later. If this guy really defeated Jin Li and Jin Qing, maybe he really has to think carefully about how to defeat this weapon spirit. However, Jin Li and Jin Qing were knocked back by one move. But he soon regained his strength. He took the initiative to surround the kendo weapon spirit. For this, Xiaoxian was also secretly surprised. In fact, he did not expect that this disciple of the Jinyu dynasty still had some courage. At this moment, facing such a fierce swordsmanship spirit, you still have the heart to challenge? Looks good. However, judging from their looks, I don't know if they have confidence. Xiaoxian took the initiative and said, "Get ready. If the weapon spirit loses, we must get ahead of them and conquer the weapon spirit." Hear this. Naturally, it is not comparable to ordinary people. Lang Tu was stunned for a moment, but still asked doubtfully, what if the people from the Jinyu dynasty lose? The long-term planning of their Jinyu dynasty has completely lost its effect. His understanding of the way of the sword. Following Jin Qing's order. If I really want to say it. Xiaoxian shook his head and continued, but this should be unlikely. The people of the Jinyu dynasty have been preparing for such a long time, so they should not lose easily. That's easy. They held various weapons and surrounded them, and they all looked like they were being controlled. A series of illusory spirits. In fact, these are also some of his rough predictions. Not only Xiaoxian and Lang Tu, but also Jin Li and Jin Qing were secretly surprised. If the people from the Jinyu dynasty lose, it will naturally be a good thing, and it will save us trouble. I saw that the two people recited the secret method silently for a while, and the weapon spirit in the sword slowly came out. These weapon spirits also instantly entered combat mode and attacked the kendo weapon spirits. To this. Suppress him. After looking at each other, they nodded at the same time and took out a dozen long swords. In the secret realm, a powerful weapon aura gradually rose up, which actually made his strength also increase. The situation may seem relatively stable, but in fact there is an undercurrent, and no one knows what will happen next. The strength of the kendo weapon spirit is not weak to begin with. Jin Li and Jin Qing were also a little anxious. Just like now. His face also became a little more solemn. Attack. During the battle, anything could happen, especially since the sword spirit was still the remnant left by Gong Sunhea. They knew that this sword weapon spirit was very powerful, but what they didn't expect was that such a situation would happen in the end. If he could continue to recover his spiritual power in the secret realm, wouldn't he be an invincible existence? Among the long swords. If that's the case. Thinking of this. Saying. It turned out to be the weapon spirit they captured in the secret realm. With the sword spirit taking action. At this time. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1025. See the scene in front of you. Xiaoxian was a little more surprised. He had known for a long time that the Jinyu dynasty was very well established and must have the ability to beat the odds. But this method of activating the weapon spirit. This was his first time seeing it. Based on what he discovered during the previous battle, he knew that these weapon spirits were actually not weak. It's just that one lacks intelligence and the other lacks organization. Now, under the secret technique of Jinyu dynasty, if these guys can unite and attack the sword spirit together, then the latter will be really dangerous. Really? Under the siege of these Kangshen realm weapon spirits. Not long after, many wounds appeared on the sword spirit, and his aura became much weaker. Jin Li and Jin Qing were waiting aside with expectant faces. Both of them had excitement on their faces. They were waiting until the sword spirit was really too weak to resist, and then they would take action to conquer it. This is the case. Their success rate in conquering is the highest. On the other side, after seeing everything in front of him, Xiao Xian's face showed a bit of solemnity. The kendo weapon spirit was subdued. This is obviously not something he wants to see. But now, Jin Li and Jin Qing can actually summon so many Kang God Realm weapon spirits. This could definitely be a variable. We need to kill Jin Li and Jin Qing instantly. In this way, we can avoid falling into a bitter battle with these weapon spirits. Are you confident? Xiao Xian turned around and asked. After hearing this, Lang Tu was also stunned. He obviously didn't expect that Xiao Xian could actually say such things. It is obvious that Xiao Xian is much stronger than him. Since Xiao Xian has said that he will kill these two people instantly, let Xiao Xian take action first. Good. I will do my best next time. Lang Tu nodded and said hesitantly, I do know that if you, sir, can kill Jin Qing, I can kill Jin Li. Say it. Xiao Xian nodded. Unexpectedly, Lang Tu usually looks gloomy, but he is not stupid at all. At this moment, it can also be seen that Jin Qing is stronger than Jin Qing. That's why he was asked to deal with Jin Qing. However, this was not a big deal. Xiao Xian also smiled and said nothing more. Make a plan. Xiao Xian no longer hesitated, stepping on the yin and yang stealth technique under his feet, and his body gradually integrated into the surrounding environment. At this moment, if anyone can see him, you will find out. His whole body seemed like a ghost, approaching Jin Qing silently, making people shudder. At the same time, Jin Qing is at the center of the secret law. But I felt an inexplicable uneasiness. After looking around, although she didn't find anyone, she always felt that there seemed to be a crisis approaching. The next second, an illusory figure suddenly appeared in front of her. The sharp sword instantly stabbed her throat. Judging from the cold air on the sword, the power of the sword was not small at all. In an instant, Jin Qing's pupils shrank. But he didn't wait for her to react. The sword pierced her throat. At the last moment of her life, Jin Qing looked up and saw that the person who killed her was actually Xiao Xian, whom she had despised before. Damn it! Xiao Xian? It's you. At the same time, watching Xiao Xian kill his sister, Jin Li almost fell into madness, roared angrily, and rushed towards Xiao Xian without even caring about the sword spirit in front of him. Unfortunately, even if his strength is compared with Jin Qing, he is still weaker. Before he could touch Xiao Xian, there was a bloody poisonous mist in front of him. After falling into the poisonous mist, he also found that his limbs were out of control. After a few breaths, Jin Li also spat out a mouthful of dirty blood and fell to the ground softly. Seeing the brother and sister lying dead on the ground, Xiao Xian just shook his head slightly, without much regret. From their space instruments, in addition to finding the crouching dragon grass that he needed, Xiao Xian also found many other explorers who needed treasures. This wave actually made a small fortune. As for the sword spirit in front of him, Xiao Xian was not so worried anymore. He knew that after such a fierce battle just now, there were still lingering memories of Gong Sun Hei in the body of the sword spirit. I am afraid that the strength is not even 1 out of 10. Under such circumstances, if he still can't subdue it, he may be really doing it on his own and is not qualified to subdue this kendo weapon spirit. Sir, you must be careful. Lang Tu also approached with caution. He could also feel that the sword spirit did have unusual power. Rest assured, I don't think it's necessary to use strong methods to conquer them, Xiao Xian said suddenly. This time, Lang Tu was stunned. No need to use force to conquer? Then, what other methods can be used? Is it possible that he plans to use gentle means? Is this a joke? Just now, they could clearly see the methods of this swordsmanship spirit. When they killed those disciples of the Jinyu dynasty, they showed no mercy. Every shot. They are all extremely fierce. Such a ruthless opponent can be subdued with gentle methods, right? But seeing Xiao Xian's serious look, Lang Tu didn't say much and just followed him silently. I want to see how he operates. At the same time, Xiao Xian's sudden appearance also alerted the sword spirit. Only. Now that the spiritual power in his body was almost exhausted, he did not attack directly, but looked coldly. Put away the sword. Staring at Xiao Xian silently. At the same time, those Kangshen realm weapon spirits summoned by Jin Qing seemed to have no souls, standing still with their eyes distracted. Xiao Xian silently took out the serious sword. The Chunyang sword technique was running, and the aura on his body was rising steadily. This breath was exactly the same as the sword spirit, which made Lang Tu stunned and looked at Xiao Xian in disbelief. At this time, he just saw it. No wonder Xiao Xian doesn't plan to use strong methods to conquer the sword spirit. After a long time of fussing, the sword technique he practiced was similar to the sword art weapon spirit. Are there even similarities? Think of this. Lang Tu suddenly realized another problem. Zhang Feng made it clear before that the kendo inheritance of this kendo weapon spirit comes from Gongsun Heya. Now the sword art on Xiao Xian's body is actually similar to the sword art weapon spirit. Doesn't that mean? Did Xiao Xian's swordsmanship inheritance come from Gongsun Heya? This is amazing. You know, Gongsun Heya was the sword cultivator who once stood at the top of the entire eastern wilderness continent. When Lang Tu met Xiao Xian for the first time, the latter is still an ordinary one-star blue god realm. How can such a person get the inheritance of such a character? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1026. At the same time, as Xiao Xian used the pure yang sword technique, a magical scene also happened. The kendo weapon spirit, who was originally full of Lingran sword aura, slowly put away the aura on his body, turned his head, and looked at Xiao Xian with seeming confusion. This made him overjoyed. Actually, if this sword weapon spirit is a walking corpse with no intelligence and only knows how to kill, Xiao Xian may really have to spend a lot of effort to subdue it by force. But it's different now. Since this kendo weapon spirit can feel the familiar Chunyang sword technique on his body, maybe he still has some consciousness. If Gongsun Heya still has some lingering thoughts in the sword spirit. For Xiao Xian, this is a good thing. After the observation just now, he has discovered that the Chunyang sword art is not as simple as it seems. Before, when he obtained the Chunyang sword art, I just found that the combat effectiveness of the pure yang sword ju was average, and the main purpose was to use the pure yang sword ju to enhance the power of the great Dao in my body. Until later, when Chunyang sword art and Wuji sword wei were integrated, Chunyang sword art gained a little bit of combat effectiveness. It is precisely because of this that Xiao Xian always thought that the combat effectiveness of Chunyang sword ju might really be average. But today, it was really an eye-opener for him. Although he was just a weapon spirit with only a trace of residual thoughts, the subtlety and power of the Chunyang sword technique also surprised him. Xiao Xian felt. The pure yang sword technique he had obtained before seemed to be only part of it. Seeing that the pure yang sword art was useful, Xiao Xian no longer hesitated and slowly condensed the sword art. I want to see how the sword weapon spirit will react. Actually, when Xiao Xian was running the pure yang sword art, he had already discovered some problems. He found that when the sword spirit felt the pure yang sword technique on his body, it seemed that he no longer had the same hostility as before. Instead, there was a soft feeling. It seems that he has some different expectations for him. This really made Xiao Xian a little excited. Is it possible? The kendo weapon spirit planned to do something to him. You, come with me. At this moment, the sword spirit suddenly opened his mouth and spoke. At this time, Xiao Xian and Lang Tu were also stunned. Didn't they say before that all weapon spirits have no intelligence? Why now? Can this kendo weapon spirit still speak? But at the moment, Xiao Xian could roughly guess that the sword spirit did not directly kill him the first moment it saw him. This shows that the kendo weapon spirit still has some affection for him. That being the case, what Xiao Xian wanted to do next didn't seem to be that difficult. More importantly, anyone with a discerning eye can now see that there must be something important for the sword spirit to find Xiao Xian. It is even possible to teach him the Chunyang sword technique. Thinking of this, Xiao Xian's face also flashed with joy. Before, he had only received some inheritance of the pure Yang sword art, and his strength had been greatly improved. Now, if he could obtain the complete inheritance of the pure Yang sword art, wouldn't his strength be greatly improved? At the moment, he also followed the sword spirit to the depths of the secret realm. Instead, Lang Tu was slightly worried. He was a little worried about Xiao Xian's safety. But in this regard, Xiao Xian comforted Lang Tu with his eyes, indicating that he didn't need to worry too much. After all, the strength of this little golden god realm swordsmanship spirit. They see it. If the sword spirit was really going to be detrimental to Xiao Xian, I'm afraid he would have taken action long ago. Even though a lot of his spiritual power was consumed, he could rely on his understanding of the sword and the rich aura of weapons in the Golden Realm secret realm. If you want to fight them, you have to make them suffer. At this moment, since the kendo weapon spirit took the initiative to invite, Xiao Xian had no reason not to follow. Along the way, Xiao Xian and Lang Tu discovered some magical things in the secret realm. This kendo weapon spirit seems to have a strong aura of overlord. As long as he goes to a place, the weapon spirits in this place will actively avoid him. It's like a mouse meeting a cat. This is definitely an unusual thing. You must know that in the secret realm, except for the sword weapon spirit of the little golden god realm in front of you, other weapon spirits have no intelligence. These weapon spirits cannot be conquered unless they use tyrannical strength. Otherwise they will never give in. But now, the kendo weapon spirit did not use the kendo aura on his body, but it still made these weapon spirits so fearful of him. This means there must be an unusual power in this sword weapon spirit, which can even make these weapon spirits actively fear it. What is this thing? This serious sword has advanced. A sword was swung out. Thinking of this, Xiao Xian instantly felt a surge of excitement in his heart, and his heart was surging. There was actually a trace of golden aura in the originally dull sword edge, and the quality of the serious sword was also improved. He found that something seemed to have changed on his serious sword. After these memories were instilled, when Xiao Xian opened his eyes again, he was surprised to find that the sword spirit had disappeared. When I was doubtful. It's just that it's been in disrepair and has collapsed into a state of disrepair. But soon, they came to a messy and deserted rock. Today, this kendo weapon spirit actually brought him here. More than half an hour passed. At this moment, there was still a feeling of swelling and pain in his talisman, and countless information gathered, making it almost impossible for him to digest. If you advance again. Otherwise, he would take action immediately upon meeting him and would not bring him here at all. This made Xiao Xian couldn't help but be a little curious. Xiao Xian suddenly felt a stinging pain in his head, and a surge of memories was poured into his mind. Gong Sunhea was a loner and did not join any sect except his own daughter. This kendo weapon spirit probably doesn't have any bad intentions towards him. Xiao Xian couldn't help but be curious. Based on previous understanding, Xiao Xian was pleasantly surprised. He'd heard of it a long time ago. He remembered at the time that after the last strengthening, the grade of the Sirius sword had reached the earth level. The pain in the strong ninja palace. If a heaven-level divine weapon were born, it would cause the heaven and earth to change color and make everything surrender. But he understands. Even the space was faintly trembling. What is this for? Even his wife left no legend behind. Rao is that his soul is powerful. As long as you have such a weapon, wouldn't your strength be comparable to the Golden God realm? Xiao Xian also kept all these memories in his mind. He also wanted to see what the sword spirit would give him. At the same time, from the remaining stone pillars and tiles on the ground, it can be seen that this place was originally a palace or house. Couldn't it be that it has reached the heaven level? Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1027. Ding dong. Host, please don't be too excited. Heaven-level magic weapons have great requirements for cultivators. If you don't have enough strength, you won't be able to use them even if you get the heaven-level magic weapons. Just when Xiao Xian was secretly happy, a system prompt suddenly came to my mind. This time, it was like a bucket of cold water was poured on his head. But Xiao Xian can actually understand such an answer, such as those powerful heaven-level magic weapons, heaven-level skills, heaven-level Taoism, etc. In fact, although these things are powerful, but not everyone can use these things. On the contrary, if you want to use these powerful combat skills, you must have the strength. It's like a newborn baby. Even if you give him the sharpest sword and the most exquisite swordsmanship, I'm afraid he won't be able to unleash the power of the sword. In these cases, if Xiao Xian understands the system, at the same time, he felt a little more helpless in his heart. He originally thought that his strength had improved significantly over the years, but who knew, it still didn't have the expected effect. Even if there are heaven-level magic weapons, no way to use it? Isn't this the same as having a treasure mountain but not being able to dig it out? Then wouldn't his efforts today be in vain? Didn't the host get the complete sword inheritance from Gongsun Heya today? These sword inheritance can allow the host to improve its strength, the system said. Is it? Xiao Xian was dubious. Kendo inheritance. This kind of thing is naturally precious. However, he has received many similar things from the system, so he doesn't have much feeling for these things. At this moment, when he heard the system say this, he suddenly felt a different feeling in his heart. Speaking of which, since arriving on the Dao continent, he has experienced many secret realms and adventures. In these dangerous places, he did get a lot of benefits. But among these benefits, none of them are truly something that can be regarded as the inheritance of swordsmanship. At the moment, although he doesn't know it yet, what exactly did this kendo weapon spirit put into his head? However, based on the previous attitude of the kendo weapon spirit towards him, he roughly judged that the things just given to him should be the great inheritance of Gongsun Heya. On that note, if he can understand it, he can be regarded as a disciple of Gongsun Heya. So, does he want to understand? System prompts, the host has not yet completed the inheritance of swordsmanship. Gongsun Heya's swordsmanship is considered to be somewhat powerful in the entire Dao continent. In this case, it is better to learn about it. It's hard to learn other people's sword skills. However, after understanding it, there are many benefits. Good. Xiao Xian nodded. He can think of it. The so-called cultivation is to choose the good and follow it. Gongsun Heya's strength and status are naturally beyond doubt, now that there is such a premise. Maybe it wouldn't be a bad thing to learn about Gongsun Heya's sword skills? Think of this. Xiao Xian also showed a look of solemnity on his face. He sat cross-legged on the ground, his soul converged, he entered a state of meditation, and began to meditate seriously. The wolf rode on one side. Seeing this scene, he silently stepped aside and became Xiao Xian's protector. Above the ruins of a deserted palace. For several days, Xiao Xuandu was sitting on the ground, his soul traveling in the divine palace, rehearsing Gong Sun Hei's swordsmanship inheritance over and over again in his mind. Every deduction. He could feel that in his divine palace, there was a white figure constantly covering up the pure Yang sword technique. Yang is the thing of heaven and earth. Gong Sun Hei is extremely strong and fierce swordsmanship. Let every swing of the long sword stimulate the masculinity in the cultivator's body, so that even if there are thousands of people in front of him, he can still deal with it fiercely. Under such circumstances, even if ordinary people want to practice, it is extremely difficult. As for Xiao Xian, what he cultivates is the path of chaos that encompasses all things, so the pure Yang sword technique also has its place. Soon, Xiao Xian also imitated that white figure. Holding the serious sword in hand, he began to slowly condense the pure Yang energy in his body, and slashed with one sword. In an instant, a huge boulder in front of him was cut off. This time, it also surprised Lang Tu next to him. He also didn't expect Xiao Xian's swordsmanship to be so fierce. Just now, he also tried the strength of the palace in this secret realm. Even if he is a 5-star Kangshen realm, using all his power, he can only leave a shallow mark on these gravels. Who knows? How could Xiao Xian be so powerful? A smile appeared on Xiao Xian's face and his eyes opened. Looking at Xiao Xian's back, Lang Tu couldn't help but say, such a genius may be something that most people will never be able to envy in their lifetime. Finally, I also obtained the Chunyang sword art. I'm afraid no one can think of it before entering the secret realm. But he was completely stunned. Finally, on the 10th day. At that time, although he was defeated by Xiao Xian, in his heart, he always thought that this was an accident. Such a thing. Genius. This speed of cultivation is almost stunning. Lang Tu also had to admit that Xiao Xian's strength had been greatly improved without knowing it. The strength is even further. Who knew that Xiao Xian would be able to stand out in such a situation and not only kill the disciples of the Jinyu dynasty? Day by day passed. One sword strike cut off the ruins of the palace. Can you cut off these boulders with just one move? To know. Xiao Xian, as an ordinary second star of the Blue God realm, was able to pass through all the way and break the trap of the Jinyu dynasty, while also improving his strength to such an extent. He couldn't have imagined it. Perhaps this is the real genius. Rather than saying that he is Xiao Xian's guard now, it is better to say that he is just a follower. At the same time, the fierce aura in his body also greatly increased. At this moment, if anyone could see it, they would find that there was a trace of golden sword shadow in his eyes. Before, Lang Tu would never even dare to think about such a thing. Just those traps set by the Jinyu dynasty before. If he can prepare properly and rely on his 5-star Kangshen realm strength to fight Xiao Xian again, he should not lose. At the same time, Lang Tu also secretly admired him. He had seen the changes in Xiao Xian's strength for such a long time. If it were placed on an ordinary disciple, even 10 lives would not be enough. He never expected that Xiao Xian could be so capable. Even from a certain perspective. But now, already far beyond him. It has reached the 2nd-star peak of the Blue God realm, and is only 1 step away from the 3-star level of the Blue God realm. Not that great. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1028. Feel inside the body. Those avenue energies like rolling thunder and galloping horses. Xiao Xian was also secretly surprised. He did not expect that this pure Yang sword art could be so domineering. His current Dao level is only 2 stars in the Kangshen realm, not even as good as Langtu beside him. But he can feel it. If he uses the pure Yang sword technique in his body, he can definitely make the power of the great Dao in his body go even further. In this way, coupled with the various methods on him, isn't it that the strength is comparable to the 7 or 8 stars in the Kang Shen realm? Think of this. He couldn't help but gasp. But after a while, he felt that the meridians in his body hurt as if they were being burned. This made him secretly surprised. He quickly extinguished the pure Yang sword technique. After a long time, the burning pain slowly subsided. It turns out that Chun Yang sword technique was a great insight that Gong Sun Hea spent his entire life to understand. The energy in it is extremely majestic. Even the strong men in the Golden God realm attach great importance to this. Now Xiaoxian, at most, has only scratched the surface of understanding it, but he can still feel the oppression of these pure Yang energies on his meridians. That is to say, Xiaoxian reacted quickly just now. His body was not harmed by the pure Yang sword technique. If Xiaoxian had forced himself to continue running the pure Yang sword technique just now, his body might have been damaged by now. After understanding this, Xiaoxian was also secretly surprised. It seems that if you want to truly unleash the power of the pure Yang sword technique, you need to strengthen your physical strength. Xiaoxian said secretly. In fact, these words were just what Xiaoxian said to himself. If others heard this, I'm afraid they would be so surprised that they couldn't even speak. To know Xiaoxian's physical strength, if placed in the same realm, it would definitely be extremely explosive. In fact, even Langtu, a 5-star Kang Shen realm, dare not say that his physical fitness is definitely better than Xiaoxian. But now, Xiaoxian actually said that his physical strength is not high enough. Isn't this Jiquaquio's showing off? But at this moment, only Xiaoxian himself knew that what he said was not false. On the contrary, if you want to achieve higher achievements, you must work harder. Strengthen the body. Maybe, he really has to find a way to go to Qinghua Academy and get the Qinglong physical technique. Just as Xiaoxian stood up. When I was about to leave this golden realm secret realm, deep in the secret realm, there was suddenly a strong aura of weapons. He didn't dare to neglect and quickly ducked away. But who knows? The weapon aura was actually continuous, as if it were endless, and continued to invade his body. This actually surprised him. I have seen it before, when Jin Qing and Jin Li besieged the Kendo weapon spirit, the Kendo weapon spirit did try to swallow the aura of these weapons. Moreover, these breaths also have a considerable strengthening effect on the weapon spirit. But what he was curious about was, I do not know now. Are these Kendo auras good for him? Thinking of this, Xiaoxian's face became more curious, and he tried to reach out his hand to touch some of these breaths. But these breaths just came close to him. It actually completely ignored his body and penetrated through his body in an instant. This scene surprised him. Logically speaking, the Jinyu dynasty can send disciples like Jin Li Jingqing to specially compete for these weapon spirits. Thinking about it, these weapon auras should be of great help to him. Why now? These weapon auras actually actively avoided him. He didn't quite understand this, even if he didn't practice the iron way. It seems that this shouldn't be the case, right? Is it possible that after obtaining these Kendo weapon spirits, the aura of these weapons will actively bypass his body? This is also something Xiaoxian is a little curious about. Brother system. What's going on? I think there seems to be something different under the weapon aura. Xiaoxian also made a random guess on his own. In fact, although he could feel that the power was different, he was asked to talk about the problem. He really couldn't explain why. So now, he can only seek help from the system. This secret realm was created by an ancient powerful man. The weapon aura is emitted by the weapon used by this ancient strong man. If I predict correctly, this weapon should be under the secret realm. The system said, as for those weapon spirits, they are just the condensed and transformed weapons, nothing more. Say it. Xiao Xian was stunned. It is not uncommon for secret realms to be created by strong people. Many strong men secretly create some secret realms in order to hide their inheritance and secrets. However, he has never seen it. There will also be the smell of weapons in the secret realm. Judging from the current situation, there is only one possibility, and that is that this weapon is too powerful. Even if it is buried underground, there is still such a strong smell of weapons. As for the ownership of the weapons, don't think about it. Without waiting for Xiao Xian to ask questions, the system said directly, with your current strength, it is almost impossible to obtain this weapon. Hear this. Xiao Xian's face was also a little embarrassed. According to what the system said, it is not that easy to obtain such a powerful weapon. But let's talk about it. He has already arrived in the secret realm. If he sees the secret treasure in front of him but has no way to get it, he will be a little disappointed. But at this moment. However, Xiao Xian still asked with hope, Brother System, is there no other way to absorb some of the breath of these weapons? No. Weapons above the heaven level already have the spirit of the weapon, and they can almost choose their own master. With your current strength, it is almost impossible to get the recognition of the weapon spirit. The system replied. After saying this, Xiao Xian also had a look of embarrassment on his face. He really didn't expect that the system's words would be so straightforward. From a certain perspective, although his current strength is not shocking, he is still somewhat powerful in the Kengshen realm. But today, he was hit one after another. This really surprised him. On the other hand, if he wants to obtain these powers, it seems that he still needs other means. Think of this. Xiao Xian changed the way of questioning. Brother System, since you can know these things, it means you should also have your own methods, right? Can you help me snatch a weapon spirit? Although now, he still doesn't know what this weapon spirit is, but being praised by the system is enough to show that this thing is extraordinary. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1029. The Spirit of Weapons. Isn't it already there in the Sirius sword? The system answered directly. After hearing this, Xiao Xian was stunned for a moment, then continued, so magical? Didn't you, old man, say that only heaven-level divine weapons and above can have the spirit of weapons? How can the Sirius sword also have it? Indeed, only heaven-level divine weapons and above can conceive. But now, your heavenly wolf sword has swallowed the weapon spirit of the little golden god realm, so it is naturally qualified to breed the weapon spirit. The system hesitated for a moment before continuing. It can be said that the current Sirius sword is no longer just a simple heaven-level weapon. Say it. Xiao Xian was also stunned. In his understanding, heaven-level magic weapons should already be the ceiling in the weapon level. Just now, the system actually broke his cognition. On top of the heavenly weapons, are there even more powerful weapons? It was true that he couldn't believe it. In that case, what should I do to breed the spirit of weapons? Xiao Xian continued to ask, if there is a weapon spirit, wouldn't it also make the power of the Sirius sword even further? Indeed so. However, if you want to breed the spirit of a weapon, what is more important is perseverance and perseverance. You need to use the breath of the weapon to breed it for a long time. That is a bit troublesome. Xiao Xian scratched the back of his head. I can't stay in this secret realm forever, unless I can bring the aura of these weapons out. Think of this. He couldn't help but feel a little distressed. Judging from the previous situation, the smell of these weapons is colorless and odorless, and cannot be seen or touched. I don't even know how to collect. How could he bring out the aura of these weapons? Just thinking about it, he suddenly noticed that not far away, weapon spirits holding weapons were walking aimlessly on them. It also has a strong smell of weapons. Seeing this, Xiao Xian suddenly understood. Speaking of which, this secret realm of the Jinyu dynasty originally existed in the Jinyu dynasty. If the Jinyu dynasty wanted iron smelting weapons, it seemed that they could enter it at will. There is no need to spend so much effort to capture the weapon spirit. Could it be that? Are they capturing the weapon spirit with such great fanfare just to extract the weapon aura from the weapon spirit's body? Use this to cultivate weapons above the heaven level? After thinking for a while, Xiao Xian found that this idea made perfect sense. That is to say, the purpose of the Jinyu dynasty coming to this secret realm is actually to capture the weapon aura in the weapon spirit. In this case, if Xiao Xian can see some weapon spirits from it, isn't it equivalent to getting the weapon breath? Thus, in the future, even if he doesn't have to stay in the secret realm, he will be able to cultivate his own weapon spirit. Think of this. Xiao Xian's face was a little more excited, and he said to Lang Tu beside him, "Start now and conquer all the weapon spirits you can see." Yes. That's a time-consuming and labor-intensive thing. Lang Tu was stunned. Although he didn't know Xiao Xian's true purpose. But he still nodded and agreed to the former, and continued, "Please rest assured, young master, I will do my best." For Wolfroad, Xiao Xian still trusts him. On the one hand, it was because Lang Tu had his soul contract with him. On the other hand, he could also see that after what happened in the secret realm, Lang Tu was not as difficult to control as before. The next period of time, Xiao Xian and Lang Tu also took action separately and began to conquer and suppress various weapon spirits. The two of them are not weak in strength. At the same time, the speed of conquering the weapon spirits has also been greatly improved, plus the previous conquering of the weapon spirits of the little golden god realm. Among Xiao Xian's movements, far faster than Lang Tu. In less than an hour, they had subdued dozens of weapon spirits. Lang Tu had no idea about these captured weapon spirits. He had no idea why Xiao Xian did what he did. At last, watching the various weapon spirits being received into the long sword, Xiao Xian showed a satisfied smile. With these weapon spirits, he also has enough weapon aura. It is not impossible for the serious sword to give birth to a weapon spirit. Just now, there was another problem before them. At that time, they came to the secret realm as a group, and now only Xiao Xian and Lang Tu came out. Xiao Xian also nodded and signaled Lang Tu to continue. Aren't those in the Blood Wolf mercenary group worried that the Jinyu dynasty would take action and target him specifically? Xiao Xian frowned and said, "Do you have any suggestions? I have heard that you mercenary group should be quite capable." Lang Tu was also stunned, and then nodded and said, "Indeed, if the young master doesn't want others to know about this matter, there is still a way. You know, there are still a large number of people in the Blood Wolf mercenary group. If the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce is implicated, then we have to stop trying." Could it be that? Xiao Xian next to him was also stunned. In fact, he also knew about the situation of some mercenary groups. He knew some about it when he was in Tianyuan continent. Wolfroad. A reason for the Jinyu dynasty to trust us. This is a bit strange. To this. But now, Lang Tu actually said such a sentence. Isn't this a bit strange? Regarding what happened in the secret realm today, perhaps Lang Tu could think of a better solution. After doing these things, the mercenary group will naturally find someone to take the blame, or at least they will not admit these things honestly. Lang Tu said directly. Say it. No matter what, the Jinyu dynasty still has strength. No matter how much you say it, the Blood Wolf mercenary group can't touch porcelain, right? On weekdays, of course, he does a lot of things like robbing families and homes. He originally thought that Langtu would think of a way to get the best of both worlds. It was impossible for him to put any more pressure on Malau's worship. It will definitely cause trouble for them, so they may need to find new solutions. This time, maybe I need a reason. Xiao Xian was really a little worried. These mercenary groups. Say it. Hear this. So. I have some ideas. If it's because of this. If it was just him, he really wouldn't care about the Jinyu dynasty, but behind him is the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. What's more, the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce and the City Lord's Mansion are now facing the siege of Qinglei Palace and are now in danger. If Master is willing, our Blood Wolf mercenary group can survive this time. Let's just say that these things were done by the Blood Wolf mercenary group. If the Jinyu dynasty knew about it? Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1030. Are you telling the truth? Xiao Xian looked at Langtu with strange eyes. He felt that this matter seemed a bit difficult to understand. After all, no matter how famous the Blood Wolf mercenary group is, it is only within the circle of mercenary groups, nothing more. Is it possible that they can still come into contact with an existence like the Jinyu dynasty? This is a bit incredible. You guys. Aren't you afraid of the revenge of the Jinyu dynasty? Xiao Xian couldn't help but ask. Don't worry, sir. Now our Blood Wolf mercenary group usually moves to the mountains and hides in the plains. Even their Golden Domain dynasty can't find any trace of us. Langtu laughed. After hearing this, Xiao Xian was also stunned immediately and continued, if this is really the case, it would be a good choice. However, there is another question, how can we make the Jinyu dynasty believe it? Blood Wolf mark. Langtu seemed to have guessed that Xiao Xian would ask, and continued, our Blood Wolf mercenary group naturally has some strength, and every time we do something, we will leave the Blood Wolf mark. What kind of habit is this? Is it possible that you are still worried that others will not know that you have done bad things? Xiao Xian asked, aren't you afraid that others will use methods to deal with you? Langtu didn't care and continued, actually, this is a last resort. Sometimes, when we accept a task from others, we have to prove that it was us who did it. Hear this. Xiao Xian nodded. Indeed, what Langtu said actually makes sense. After all, the people who hired the mercenary group all paid. Since these people paid, they naturally hope that their money will be effective. And the Blood Wolf mercenary group. Maybe you can also take this opportunity to give yourself some publicity. For this situation. Maybe in normal times, the average cultivator still prefers this. However, Xiao Xian was a little doubtful that the Jinyu dynasty could believe their rhetoric. A Blood Wolf mark. Could he really deceive the entire Jinyu dynasty? Think of this. Xiao Xian couldn't help but be a little worried. However, when he saw Langtu's confident look, he breathed a sigh of relief. Put it this way. Since Langtu can do this, it is enough to prove that what he does is still very reliable. It's even possible that they can get away with it this time. Very good. I hope people from the Jinyu dynasty can't see anything. After thinking for a while, Xiao Xian also said directly, the bodies of Jin Li and Jin Qing can't be taken out anyway, and they shouldn't know any information. At the same time, outside the secret realm, a middle-aged man with a golden crown on his head and a strong aura, with a pale face, stood at the exit of the secret realm. He is the emperor of the Jinyu dynasty, Jin Feng. As a strong man in the little golden god realm, he is also the most powerful weapon refining master in the Jinyu dynasty, and the weapons he can refine are all above the earth level. In rumors, Jin Feng even personally refined heaven-level weapons. However, these are just rumors, and no one knows whether they are true or false. After all, if a magic weapon of this level were really born, it would cause changes in the world within a certain range. But recently, it seems that no such mutation occurred. However, this is not the only criterion for judging this matter. Maybe within the Jinyu dynasty, there will be some means unknown to ordinary people to hide this change in the world. Today, Jin Feng was full of anger. Because through the life monument, he discovered that his son and daughter actually died in the secret realm. To know. This secret realm is called the Golden Realm Secret Realm. It was originally a secret realm owned by the Jinyu dynasty itself. In Jin Feng's view, the Jinyu dynasty has controlled this secret realm for so many years, so it naturally knows the situation very well. It can be said that this secret realm is like their back garden. Who would have known that both Jin Li and Jin Qing would die here today? This was something that made him furious. His Majesty. The explorers should be coming out soon. A minister from the Jinyu dynasty stepped forward carefully and said, "The real culprit who killed the prince and princess should be revealed soon." Jin Feng's face was still ashen and he said, "This time, no matter who it is, let them stay." Yes. Yes. The guards of the Jinyu dynasty also nodded quickly. They all know that Jin Qing is the most talented disciple in the dynasty and the heir to the dynasty appointed by Jin Feng. She died in the secret realm. It is equivalent to cutting off the future bloodline of the dynasty. Therefore, among the explorers this time, no matter who is causing trouble behind the scenes, Jinyu dynasty will investigate and get to the bottom of it. They didn't expect it? I'm afraid that his position as an emperor is no longer secure. As for the other side, impossible. This is also to catch the sword weapon spirit of the little golden god realm. The golden realm secret realm also slowly opened. A strong smell of weapons and blood swept out from inside, but after a long time, no one came out of the secret realm. This is also their purpose. Could it be said that all these people really died in the secret realm? But these did not make Jin Feng feel there was any problem. In his opinion, the other explorers were just cannon fodder and tools. In the future, you go in, even if you dig 3 feet into the ground, you have to find those bastards for me. What happened today not only caused the entire Jinyu dynasty to lose its heir, but also brought shame to the entire Jinyu dynasty. No one came out of the secret realm. Jin Feng frowned slightly. He thought. Yes. While talking. Although it is possible that other explorers will die. He was somewhat afraid of the strength of the little golden god realm powerhouse in the secret realm. Who knows? Is it possible that all the people who entered the secret realm died? For him. Not as good as Jin Qing and Jin Li. Some Kangshen realm masters who were fully armed and holding weapons were ready to enter the secret realm. The Jinyu dynasty has no trace of majesty in every region. This really surprised Jin Feng and others. The murderer must be hiding in a secret place. Even if all these people are dead. Yes. Jin Feng had actually investigated and found out that when Jin King Jin Li and the others entered the secret realm, they did indeed set a trap that was not too big or too small. With Jin King Jin Li and some explorers, it shouldn't be a problem to defeat the weapon spirit of the little golden god realm. No one from the exploration team came out. If this matter is not found to the bottom of the matter, Jin Feng was furious.